Okay, so let's just look at the sky this month. So the highlights I want to go through are, first of all, there's the regular monthly dance of the planets. We'll see what's available there. We'll talk a little bit about winter constellations and stars, because as you know, when we put all our eggs into the basket of being able to see this conjunction or something like that, this alignment of the moon and the planets, chances are there's going to be cloudy weather. So, but the constellations are there all the time. So I just like to do a brief thing about winter constellations and stars. And then I'm not going to do anything about solar facts, but unfortunately it was already built into the presentation. Okay, so first of all, let's just talk about tomorrow morning, January the 9th, 7:45 a.m. Okay, so not too early. But anyway, if you take a look out and take a look at the southeast, what you're going to do is see a Venus and a sliver of a moon. Venus is going to be very low in the sky, less than 10 degrees up. So you have to have a pretty good southeast horizon. So that's kind of give you an idea of where Venus will be, but you might be able to see it if you've got a good southeast horizon. That's, like I say, tomorrow morning. And then on the 11th, so a couple of days later, the moon and Venus will be quite close together. Again, moon is moving almost into a new moon situation. So it is going to be a very, very thin sliver of moon. That's not going to be a circle like that at all. It's just going to be a thin sliver. Okay, and this is sort of a close-up, and it's just an artifact of stellarium that when you zoom back, or when you go back and look at the moon, they have this disk, but when you zoom in, then they show you that, well, in this case, it's almost a new moon. There's just a very thin sliver of light along the edge. So again, southeast horizon, very low in the sky. That'll be on, I guess, Monday morning, 7:45. Now, January the 10th, that's Sunday night now. So we're switching from the morning to the night, 5:15 p.m. If you look in the southwest sky, you'll see Jupiter, Mercury, and Saturn in a little almost equilateral triangle. It's very low in the sky, but I know that if you go down to the waterfront in front of Seashell, Pebbles Beach, and take a look out just a bit to the, probably to the left of the trail islands, then you have a pretty good shot at a low horizon, and that's where you should be looking. So if we zoom in a little bit more, that's what it looks like. Jupiter, Mercury, and Saturn in a nice little equilateral triangle. So that's so it's going to look like Sunday night at 5:45 or 5:15. It's 5:15, yeah, 5:15.
Bruce, is that easily observable with the naked eye?
I would think so, as long as there are no clouds. Yes. Saturn might be a little bit more difficult. Again, you know, you've got this issue of like the later you go, then the darker it gets and the more visible these objects are. But of course, the lower they are in the sky. But I would say that you can get within 5 degrees of the horizon looking at from Pebbles Beach.
From Trail Bay.
Trail Bay, yeah, basically.
Yeah, what about Davis Bay?
Davis Bay, you have to swing a little bit more around. I haven't really thought about that too much, but you notice where southwest is, southwest, and so we're only just a few, maybe 5 degrees you know, 5 degrees more to the west of southwest. So you can probably gauge it by maybe just looking at Google Earth or something like that, and you can see.
Yeah. Well, Trail Bay is probably, it's 6 of 1 for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now on the 14th, there is going to be a kind of a nice little alignment of Jupiter, Mercury, and the moon, kind of in a nice little pattern. So again, nice time of day, 14th of January rather. That's a Thursday. So Thursday, 5:15. there was quite a nice little group of us that would go gather down, waiting for the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter earlier in, in December. Okay, and again, low in the sky, so you don't get there too late, or else Jupiter will have sunk below the horizon. Okay, now January the 26th, by my estimate anyway, that's when Mercury will be at its greatest height above the horizon. So Mercury is always a nice challenge to see. And when it gets, the higher up it gets, the more likely you are to see it. So again, it's in the southwest sky. It's a little bit less than 10 degrees above the horizon. That's your best opportunity. So basically, as January moves on, you'll see more and more opportunity to see Mercury. Okay. Now, if we go back to January the 20th, and now we're just waiting farther into the evening, where we're going to look at the moon and Mars will be lined up. So that's just on January the 20th. So nice little alignment of them. By the way, Mars on this night will just be about 1.5 degrees from Uranus. So if you have a telescope and you're an expert, you'll be able to see Uranus about where I'm pointing with my mouse, right there. So, but that's for the pros among us. Okay. Again, we're way up in the sky now. Notice that that's 10 degrees. So we're halfway up from the horizon. So no problem seeing this as long as there's no clouds. Okay, now while we're out there, it's the 20th. It's a nice dark night. We might as well do a little bit of winter constellations and stars. So if we look basically to between the east and the south, we can see some of the winter constellations. There's Orion right there, most recognizable winter constellation of them all. Mm. So if you can, that'd be a nice thing to just have a look at. There's the Gemini twins over just up to the left of Orion. And then there's a bunch of other constellations which don't really amount to much, but the stars are pretty impressive. So let's just back off here. Of course, within Orion, we've got Rigel, which is in the lower right-hand corner, the foot, one of the feet of Orion. And diagonally opposite, we have Betelgeuse. Let's just call it Betelgeuse, so we're not too hoity-toity about it. And that's at the other kitty corner across Orion. And those two, even a person who's slightly colorblind, like I am, can still tell the difference between the blue of Rigel and the orange of Betelgeuse. So it's kind of a neat sight. And then there's Sirius, which is the really bright star directly below Betelgeuse at this point. And it's part of the constellation of the big dog, Canis Major. I gather that in the legend, Orion has some hunting dogs. And so this is one of the big dog. And then this is Procyon, and it's part of the little dog. And neither of them look like dogs. They're really not worth considering as asterisms, but certainly the stars are impressive, Sirius and Procyon. And then up to the two Gemini twins, Castor and Pollux, are up there. So those are some of the big bright stars in this portion of the sky. Okay, so then we can, that's again, January the 20th, I'm looking at about 8 p.m. Let's just swing over to the west, a little bit north of west, and we can see the great square of Pegasus. So that's always a nice reference point, especially if you're trying to learn other constellations. Once you find that, you kind of lock in and sort of can go from there. And what's this thing over here? Well, this is actually, believe it or not, Cygnus the Swan. So here we are in January, and these constellations that dominate the summer sky are still in the sky. Of course, it's going to go down soon, but this is 8 o'clock on January the 20th. And of course, the bright star at the top is Deneb. And then Vega is this. This is the brightest of the summer stars. It's still claiming a little spot in the sky early on the 20th of January. Okay, so there's some neat little stars and constellations to look there. And then if you swing to the north, then of course you've got the good old Big Dipper, and then you can use the pointer stars of the Big Dipper to point your way up to Polaris, the North Star. The North Star is not the brightest star in the sky. Its only importance is that it appears not to move throughout the night. And then you can actually, if it's a really dark night, you can start exploring all the other little stars associated with the Big Dipper that make up the constellation of Ursa Major. And you just need to get a little sky chart, and it'll show you the feet and the nose of Ursa Major, which I think should be renamed Moose Major, Big Rat. Okay, that's because I think that when you actually see the pointed nose of the Ursa Major and the skinny little feet, you'll have to say, this is not a bear, this is a rat. Okay, so that is basically what I have to say about what's going to happen this week. And I think I'll just go on to talk about solar facts next month. Okay,